Hi there. I realized last night that I'd forgotten to share the link to the video I made about false feelings as I had promised I would in my last video. Since it pertains to today's lesson as much as it did the last one, I will share the link here. The concept of false feelings are essential to understand if we are to fully accept both of these lessons, because they are the language we unconsciously use to keep the false story going that other people's behaviors, words, etc., are the cause of our emotional discomfort. So today's idea is just the other side of the same coin that I was describing in the last video. In the last video, I explained how accepting that my feelings, my emotions, are always about me is the key to self-empowerment, because I can no longer blame the world or anyone in it for my misery. I must accept responsibility for them, and in that, find a motivation to find and use the tools necessary to feel the peace, the joy, and the love that are my birthright. Today, as we look at the tails side of the coin, the promise is liberation or freedom. Another thing that I believe we all want. Freedom from what? Freedom from guilt and from fear. If we no longer see my words and actions as the cause for another person's emotional distress, it frees me to speak my truth. This idea pertains to all relationships, but for the sake of simplicity, I'll focus on intimate partnerships and family. Of course, we all want our partners to be happy. It's almost cliche by now to say at some point during a courtship, "I want to make you happy," among other impossible promises when committing to a romantic relationship. But as we try to keep the promise, through people-pleasing, through efforting, through forsaking our own joy, to give the other person what we think will make them happy, if we're honest with ourselves, we can see that it just doesn't work. The harder we try, it seems, the less easy it is to satisfy them. I've experienced this in my own relationships, though I only saw it clearly in hindsight and what I observed going on in the couples therapy room, most often in the codependent relationships. It's an absurd happiness standoff going on under the surface. It's unspoken, but I often can see it while they don't, because as a therapist, I have a view from above the battleground that they don't. It goes like this: I'll only be happy if you're happy. I believe that the original source for this dynamic is a common experience that toddlers have. Toddlers haven't stepped into guilt as of yet, and so they are sometimes steeped in joy. They might tear their clothes off and dance around the living room, for instance, and the tragic moment happens when mom or dad or some aunt or uncle scolds them for this. That mom or dad or aunt or uncle already made this same bargain themselves years ago that they are now demanding this little ball of joy make now. Trade your joy in so you can be accepted by the adults around you. Honestly, the adults are just envious of the child's innocence, which they themselves have lost contact with. The following words are not spoken, but they are the message being received. Dim your joy, your light, in return for my protection of you. Since emotions are in their essence about safety first and foremost, the child begins to learn that they must make this bargain if they want to feel safe. The logic of A Course in Miracles works differently. It's based on a more reasonable premise, which is that you cannot give what you do not have. If you are joyful, then you can share it. It brightens up the room you are in. If it's not brightening up this room, go to another room where there's people who can receive it. A Course in Miracles is principally not for children so much as for the adults who have made a habit of trading in their joy for the sake of others' approval. Most of us adults are no longer dependent on our parents for our safety, so the bargain is no longer necessary. The children don't really have this option because they really are dependent on the adults for their safety and security. So as an adult, give up on trying to make other people happy. That's their responsibility. Be love, be joy, be peace, and please don't feel bad about it. You can't feel bad and feel happy at the same time, right? It just doesn't make sense. I myself have made this bargain in many of my relationships in exchange for other people's approval. Here's a passage, a prayer actually, from Workbook Lesson 216 of A Course in Miracles that can be helpful in accepting responsibility for finding your joy again. The title for this lesson is, It Can Be But Myself I Crucify. And the prayer is short and simple to memorize and repeat throughout the day when tempted by the world to limit your joy. Quote, all that I do unto myself. If I attack, I suffer. But if I forgive, salvation will be given me. End quote. This implies that it is not the external world that is demanding that I trade my joy in for a sense of false security. It is my decision alone. How else can we expect to brighten up the world around us but by shining our light? If you're finding these ideas helpful, I'd appreciate it if you would like and subscribe, and I wish you all a day filled with the love and joy and peace that you so richly deserve. Thank you.